How did people doing well today? We've got some broken news for you guys because IG have gone and bought Freetrade. So we're going to talk about that move today. Obviously, some of you guys might use some of those platforms. We're going to talk about what will happen to Freetrade. Is it going to end up you guys switching to IG, or is Freetrade still going to be available? We're going to talk about the valuation. There's a lot of people not happy about that valuation that Freetrade took for the acquisition. And then also there was some interesting news that I saw in Freetrade's company accounts. So I'm going to show you that today. Hope you enjoyed the video, guys. Let's get started. So Freetrade, it was taken over. It came out today that Freetrade was to get taken over by IG. They did pay 120 million for the business. Now, as you can see here, there was investor backlash after the deal. The reason why is because they are paying less than a quarter of the price that Freetrade tried to raise funds at in 2022. The deal will be worth up to 119p for investors. And it just actually reported its first profitable half a year in its first 6 years of its history. But clearly people were not happy, as some early investors were told that that would mean they would lose 87% of their investment as a result of them taking this offer. The reason why is because they did crowdfunding. Freetrade went on to crowdfunding, and a lot of people paid a big valuation for this, typically in the 2022 times, and as we know, a lot of valuations were a little bit stretched during that time period, and obviously the deal they've taken right now is a lot lower than what they paid on their crowdfunding rounds. So Freetrade, obviously a bit of a strange one to be fair, because Freetrade was a platform that was up and coming many years ago, 2017, 2018, 2019. I'd say that Freetrade was actually a pretty decent platform that was competing with the likes of Trading212. Very easy platform to use, very cheap fees, easy access to an ISA, and that kind of all changed during 2022. The platform came a little bit more expensive in my opinion. They started hiding stocks behind paywalls. You had to start paying for the likes of the stocks and shares ISA. You had to pay £5 a month for this platform. And very quickly, in my opinion, Freetrade became a platform that fell very quickly behind Trading212. So I think the platform itself, it fell behind some of its competitors. And I think that slowed down some of Freetrade's value. Now, actually though, I was having a quick look at the company's accounts in Freetrade. So if you actually look at the end of year 2023, we don't have the 2024 numbers just yet. Even though it's falling behind Trading212, I am actually quite surprised to see that the revenue still grew 45%. And we can see here the profit did actually increase by 64%. I mean, it was still losing money, but it was increasing rapidly. And as we've just seen in this latest update that was revealed when the acquisition was made, they actually did start making some profit. So they have made big improvements in the profit side of it. And as you can see here, they were still doing very good. You can see a total users still increased by 9% as well, and let's not forget that came after that horrible 2022 stock market crash. So as more investors start coming back in 2023, 2024, I'm sure the user growth would actually still be up. And as I looked into the Stockopedia side of it, they actually said that they had 720,000 customers with assets under administration of 2.5 billion. And they said that actually in the last 2 years, they have doubled their assets under value. So clearly people are still joining Freetrade, and people are actually spending more money, because obviously what's happened is they put the pricing up a lot more and people are sticking with them and people are actually using the platform. Now actually that was one of my first points, is that I'm actually really surprised that people are still using Freetrade and people actually still continue to spend money with Freetrade. Now I don't know, like I said, they must still be attracting some users, but as well as that, what we're seeing is the classic thing where people join a platform, and as they get stuck into their investing journey, they spend more and more. This is probably why IG have made that acquisition, is because they want to attract that younger audience in that go to their first platform where maybe necessarily they don't want the best platform out there. They want a platform that is a bit cheaper. They've got less money. They want to keep more in their pocket. And as they kind of scale up, this might be IG's kind of plan for acquiring this, is that they kind of go, you know what, you were a bit of a young investor, you use the cheap fees on Freetrade, come over, come use our platform on IG, and we've got a lot more features that you might like now you're using bigger money. So that's probably the reason why IG have made this acquisition, is that they're thinking we get a lot of users and then we might be able to scale them up to the IG platform as the money grows. And as we can see here, they've got the benefit from it in the last kind of couple of years, with revenue growing up 45%. But I've got to say, I was so surprised that people were still using Freetrade, because in my opinion, the platform has fallen way behind Trading212, but people are still using it, which was a big surprise. Now, I was looking at this note from Stockopedia, and there was a quote from the CEO. And you can see here that the current CEO of Freetrade looks like he is going to join the IG team and continue to lead Freetrade. So they are not going to acquire the customers on Freetrade and send you across to the IG platform. It looks like IG and Freetrade will still operate as different platforms, separate platforms. So it seems like I said, I think IG are buying this because for their point of view, it's a kind of like IG's for more of our clients with bigger wealth, but Freetrade's our free platform that we try and attract you on with cheaper fees, and then maybe we push you onto the IG platform. I think that's probably where they're kind of going at with this acquisition of Freetrade. So Freetrade is going to looks like it's going to stay a separate platform here, and you're not going to be forced onto the IG platform, which I think a few people probably will prefer. I was still surprised to see the amount of people that are still using that platform. I could not believe it here. Now, obviously, going on to the next point, there's a lot of unhappy investors at the moment with the sale at 160 million. Like we said, it was a quarter of the value that they tried to place on the company in 2022. And as I look here, they did try and raise some funds, I think in 2023. 2023, they did actually try raise some more money, and they actually priced it at, I believe it was £2.30 if I just go back. Oh, sorry, it was even more, £2.60 in 2023, which is so surprising that actually in that time frame, a year's time frame, and now they're also profitable, that they've actually then gone and accepted a offer for £1.19 a share. That's actually, I think that's quite poor from Freetrade to actually accept that offer. Now, what Freetrade kept doing is they kept doing funding rounds from this website on Crowdcube, and this basically gave you access to early investments in companies before they came public. And what they would do is they do the funding round, they need more money, you buy a stake in the company. A lot of companies do this at the moment. I sometimes just throw a bit of money into some of these companies, nothing serious, a couple of quid sometimes, and maybe it might end up being a little bit of money. But yeah, I don't like, once again, I don't like doing this too much because of these reasons. You don't really have that much control on when you can buy and sell shares, and sometimes you can be left in the dark a little bit, like some of these free trade investors at the moment. But they did Freetrade were doing a lot of funding through this website, and like we said before, in 2023 they did I believe an offering then. They tried doing one in 2022 for, I think it was £7. They did one, I believe, in 2020. So basically the last kind of 5 years, if you've been doing crowdfunding through this company, they've taken an offer lower than where they actually raised funds on, which isn't great. Now, I actually did put some money into Freetrade through their Crowdcube funding in 2019. I believe what I paid for them, I put it on Discord earlier and I'm trying to remember what it was. I believe it was 94p. I think I bought my shares in at 2019. So I actually make a little bit of money on this here, but obviously nothing too much. And you got to remember, this is an investment I've had here for like 5 years, and I'm only making a slight little bit of profit. Like I said, it's not too important to me because I didn't really put that much money into it. But yeah, it actually shows you 5 years and then they've accepted an offer that low. And I think what's also quite poor is that obviously they've raised money at so high premiums. Even only like a year ago, 2 years ago, they were raising money at like £2 a share, which is so low from where people invested. And I guess there's a point of view is like, why are Freetrade kind of offloading now? If you are, I think the CEO Victor was called, saying that we are in, it's here, right here. Freetrade is in its strongest financial position in history. So if you're in the strongest financial position in history, why have you kind of offloaded it at such a low price to where you've been raising funding at your shareholders at really high levels than where it is previously? You've just absolutely annihilated a lot of your shareholder base. Obviously, not great from that point of view, but I guess from a point of view as well is like, I think Freetrade maybe have kind of stitched up some of their investors, even though I don't think the value that IG have paid for this company is actually too bad. I think 160 million isn't too bad, because at the end of the day, if we look at 2023 accounts, obviously they'll be a bit better in 2024. But you're paying for 21 million of revenue, just over 5 times kind of sales-ish. It's okay. I mean, loss making. I guess you could say it's about break even. I think I read somewhere they just did 2 million of EBITDA. So you're paying about 50 times EBITDA. I mean, it's always hard when you value companies that have been historically big loss makers. How much do you pay for a company that's not made money before? It's a bit of a tough question. I think IG have probably not paid a too bad a valuation for this overall. You're certainly not going to get someone paying 300, 400 million for this. So I don't think it's too bad a valuation. So I guess that also comes to the point of view about, it's key about the price you pay. when Crowdcube were doing these fundings and they were trying to raise these fundings, and they were wanting you to pay £2 a share for the funding in Freetrade. I guess ultimately as well, I think some of the investors have to look at themselves. Like, at what point were you looking at those numbers? When they were trying to raise money at £2.60 and you were looking at the numbers they were doing. If we go back onto Companies House, you saw them like, okay, the revenue growth was okay, but they were still losing a ton of money. You were valuing a company at, I don't even know what to say, like 30, 40, 50 times a sales with a company that was losing a ton of money. The platform was deteriorating. It was nowhere near as good as its nearest competitor, Trading 212. It was that far off Trading 212. It had to take its comparisons of how much cheaper it was of Trading 212 off its website, because it was way too much more expensive. Don't know if you've ever seen that. If you actually go on the website and you look at the comparison of the prices, they've had to take Trading 212 off because they were so much more expensive than Trading 212. They were falling behind massively, and the reason why is because they were charging so much for these fees because they were losing that a lot of money here. So I guess these are part of this where Freetrade have kind of stitched some of the investors up for taking such a bit of a low offer here, and raising money at the rates that they were raising money at. But who can complain if people are willing to pay that money and they could raise it at those levels? I guess it's business, isn't it? At the same time. But from the investor point of view, I guess there's some element of like, you got to look at what you're valuing at. I remember when the last time they were trying to do a funding in 2022, and they wanted £7 a share for this business, and I thought it's absolutely ridiculous. I mean, there's a point where you've got to value things, guys. I think some people expect that they just put money in something and it goes up, and if it doesn't work up, it's just blame it on someone else. With investments, you've got to take some responsibility, guys. It's your money that you're risking, and you've got to look at that and protect your money. Sometimes some of these companies don't really care, and I think some of the investors, unfortunately, probably need to take some responsibility from that. You were willing to pay that crazy valuation for a company that wasn't doing as well as where it was 3 years ago, and ultimately you got stung for that. And we've seen so many people, even during my investments in 2021, 22, I bought some stocks at big valuations, and they had the reality check. You've got to run the valuation on the risk to reward here, and it's a bit of a tough one because Freetrade maybe took way too much of a cheap offer, but also people pay crazy values. And the other crazy thing that I learned from this is that the amount of people that are still using Freetrade, even though in my opinion it's not even that good of a platform right now. So overall, I'd say probably the winner out of it all is probably IG Group, because they can use this platform now. They're very profitable. They can put money into Freetrade, and they can maybe use Freetrade as a platform to get younger investors onto the platform and then scale them up maybe to IG. So interesting move in the market. I tell you something, I would always love Trading 212 to become a public company. I think that would be really interesting if they ever did that. I think it might even be something that I would invest in if it was the right value, but that's another subject for another day. Thanks for watching, guys. See you in a bit.